We bought our 1991 Dodge Ram V250 camper van in June of 2022, and it has been honestly one of the best decisions we've ever made.
Today we're going to go over all the things we did to renovate it into our dream home on wheels.
We found our van on Facebook Marketplace, and it was built out as a camper from the factory, so we knew we wouldn't have to put in that much work to get it up and running.
We didn't really know where to start. It was already built out, but it was just very dated. It's from the 90s, it's a 91, so there was a lot of brown everywhere, and we really just wanted to spruce it up a little bit.
Of course, as with any older vehicle, things started breaking immediately. The first thing to go was the AC unit.
And that was really bad timing because when we bought it, it was in the middle of a heat wave. So we needed to get that replaced immediately.
We found a replacement AC unit online and got right to work. Carrying it out was definitely easier said than done. It was sealed in with decades of silicone caulk, and I had to pry out every little bit of that, and it took me about 2 hours. Not to mention the unit weighed like 60 pounds, so we had to really be careful lowering it out of the space and onto the bed. And once we got it out, we saw about 30 years of dust and debris that had built up back there. So we had to vacuum all that out before we could even attempt to install the new unit. But eventually we got the new unit in and we were back to sweet AC.
So the next project that we had to work on was getting the bathroom and closet doors into working condition. So our van is a road trek, and one really cool thing about that is they have these bifold doors that close off the entire space of the bathroom area so that you can have privacy. But when we bought our van, one of those doors was completely missing, so we just decided to tear out the remaining one and rebuild 2 doors ourselves that could match.
We also used this as an opportunity to replace one of the rear seats with a bench seat. That afforded us a lot more storage, and it gave us a place to put our power station.
Immediately after we had both of those woodworking projects done, we painted the entire interior white. And I am not usually a fan of painting everything white, but when you're in such a small space like that, you really do need white or a very light color to really open up the space.
One thing you should know about old camper vans and old RVs in general is that they leak a lot. So we were spending pretty much every other weekend on top of the van, silicone caulking the skylight and the rooftop vent to try to stay ahead of the Alabama rain. It was also around this time that we decided we wanted a pet.
We have had all kinds of animals in the van, and we've loved them all, but one day we decided that a bunny might be a good idea in the van. And we loved her, we had her for a while, but she destroyed everything that she possibly could, and she actually ate through a lot of the wiring in the van and through our seatbelts, which no shop will fix for us for some reason, so that's great.
Yeah, they act like no one should ever need to get their seatbelts replaced. Like, that's just unheard of for some reason. Our next big focus was electricity. We were debating between a DIY setup and a power station, but we weren't really sure which one we wanted to make the jump on yet. Eventually, we found a really good deal on a power station, and we decided that was the route we wanted to go.
That seemed to be the easiest option for us because it was already a registered RV and all the wiring was already done for us inside. So instead of hooking up the van to shore power, we basically hooked it up to the power station. And it's a little more complicated than that, but he deals with all the electric stuff, so.
And it was shortly after that we decided we needed to handle the solar, which was the charging, the panels, and that kind of thing. So we built a roof rack. We couldn't find any welders in our area that could do it for us, so we ended up just doing bolt-on. And we didn't want to mess with the fiberglass top to the van, so we used a ladder rack that connected to the steel gutters on the side of the van.
And we will be making a video on how we made the roof rack and the solar system and how much both of those costed, so make sure you're subscribed.
We also decided to build a composite rooftop deck onto the rack, so we had a nice porch kind of area to sit on.
Adding a rooftop deck is a really great way to basically double your floor space. It was just such a nice place to hang out and watch sunsets and sunrises. We wanted all the seating in the back to be like a nice cognac leather, and we tried really hard to find someone to do that upholstery for us, but everyone was like booked up like a year in advance. So, or they were charging like a crazy amount of money that we couldn't afford at the time. So, I just bought a sewing machine and, bought a staple gun and did it myself.
The cognac leather brought a nice, warm, cozy vibe, and it really finished out the feel of the place.
So, other than that, getting into some of the smaller little renovations that we did things like adding hardware to just like make it cuter because the hardware was from the 90s. And we also, of course, had to replace a bunch of things that broke along the way. I think the microwave was the first to go, and then the vent fan, and then I don't even know what else, but I do know that I'm so glad that the fridge didn't break and we still have that going. So that would have been horrible to replace.
Yeah. We actually replaced the microwave with a air fryer toaster oven, which I think we honestly like better.
Another thing that we did was replacing those white countertops, and we really didn't want to open up the whole countertop and like redo it completely with a piece of butcher block. We've seen some other people that went that route, and it just looked very difficult and beyond what our skill level was at the time. So we literally just bought a sticker, like contact paper from Amazon, and put that over the white countertop.
And honestly, it looks great. It looks just like butcher block to me, and it doesn't even wear that bad.
No, it's definitely held up really well.
We did have one project done professionally, and that was replacing the faucet.
We really just didn't know anything about plumbing, and we didn't want to mess anything up. And there was nothing actually wrong with the faucet itself when we replaced it. It was just ugly, and I wanted something that had the extension on it so that I could wash my hair in the sink if I needed to. But the pump was actually broken. We did have to replace the water pump, which we also got done professionally at the same time that they replaced the faucet.
And once that was done, we decided we wanted to update the stovetop. It came steel and kind of rusty, and we didn't really like the look of it, so we wanted to get it powder coated white.
Yeah, again, there was nothing really wrong with that. I just thought white would look a lot cleaner. And we tried to do it ourselves at first.
And it kind of worked.
Yeah, it worked for a while with just high heat spray paint. But unfortunately, it just got really rusty and really dirty and really bad. So we got that professionally powder coated. Another thing that we updated was the cup holders on our doghouse. People love the look of the mug holders that road trucks tend to come with, and I love them too, so I definitely wanted to keep them, but they looked just ugly when we first got in there. So I just put some texturized spray paint and I replaced the lining on the bottom, and I think it looked much better that way.
Another interesting thing about our road trek is it has a ton of windows. So making window covers to kind of block out the sun and give us some privacy was a big priority.
We did this with Reflectix, and of course, originally our road trek came with curtains that went over every window, and that may be a regret of mine. I maybe wish that we kept those curtains. They weren't completely blackout, they were just for privacy. So that is a good thing about choosing the Reflectix option, is that it was very insulating. But unfortunately, I did a very bad job with the window coverings. I took the easy way out, and they just fell apart. I basically just hot glued fabric onto the Reflectix, and eventually we had to duct tape them all up and everything, and it was really bad. So if I had to do the window coverings again, I would definitely sew them.
Another project we took on in the van was tiling the bathroom and kitchen. We chose this green, it was kind of peel and stick, right?
Yeah.
But it looked really nice. It wasn't just flat, it had texture and a tile look to it. So we think it turned out really good.
Tile, like real tile, is not something that you usually see in a van just because of the weight and also because it can crack while you're having like a bunch of movement on the road. So we went with the peel and stick like everybody else. Another small thing we did to just make the space feel like prettier and cozier was just replacing the outlet covers with prettier ones. Our van came with standard outlets, so we were able to find those easily at, I think, Hobby Lobby. And then the rest of the little pieces of hardware and invisible silver that we could find anywhere, we just put rub and buff on there.
When we got the van, it was missing the diffuser for the rear fluorescent light that goes over the dinette bed area. And so we were trying to find for a long time like what we could use as a replacement cover for that. And we ended up coming across this little wicker basket at a thrift store that fit it perfectly. Speaking of lights, we decided to replace all of the incandescent bulbs around the inside of the van with LEDs, and that definitely saved a lot on our power consumption.
Another thing that we loved about our road truck that was already in it when we got it was these really pretty wooden shelves that provide a whole lot of storage. But they were in a little bit rough condition, so we just filled all the holes that we could in them with wood filler, and then we sanded everything down and stained it.
So the defining feature of all road truck vans is the 3 skylights at the top, and unfortunately, ours looked a little bit ugly from the inside. They just kind of had this black rubber border surrounding them, and we weren't a fan of how that looked. So we wanted to create some sort of nicer looking border that we could stick on around the windows.
It didn't look the best. It was very DIY, but I still think it looked a lot better than the original black borders around the window.
One thing the van kind of lacked were nightstands around the bed area. So we found these really cool wooden bucket type of things at Hobby Lobby, and they looked nice, and we put them on there.
We just really needed a place to put our phone at night that wasn't just laying in the bed. So that worked really great for all of our little normal nightstand items.
There was one more thing that stopped working after a while, and that was the roof vent fan, which is absolutely essential in a camper van, so we had to get that replaced immediately. Luckily, I was able to find a fan motor combo unit that fit our van perfectly, and we didn't have to spring for a $500 Max Air.
Another thing that came stock with our van were these collapsible cup holders that were on the sides of some of the doors, and we really liked them, but the plastic was just really old and was breaking, so we just replaced all of those, and luckily those were also available on Amazon. That same plastic that was old and degrading was also on the handles of all the doors, so we did end up having to replace the connections on all the door handles. At this point, we have been living in our van for 4 years, and all of our renovations held up very well except for the occasional coat of paint and things like that.
By 2024, our van was as good as finished, and it was ready for a real adventure. And that adventure ended up being supporting Jasmine's thru hike on the Appalachian Trail. And honestly, it held up great. The only thing that didn't hold up great were the brakes. The mountains were very, very hard on the brakes. And by the time we got home and got them replaced, the guy who replaced them was basically asking me if there was ever any brake shoes on the rear drums, because they had just completely disintegrated and were like nowhere to be found.
They're just completely gone. So thank you guys so much for watching. We hope you enjoyed all the things we did to renovate our 91 road trek, and let us know if you have any questions. We will answer them in the comments.
Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.